Before we move on to the banner and the navigation down here, we're going to do some housekeeping. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click on color, don't need that, and I'm going to actually group all of these interesting things. So I'm going to hold down shift, and then I'm going to click on rectangle, and I'm going to press Command and G, and what that does is it sets me up as a nice group. Double click on it, and then I can call this header, like that. I normally do main areas like headers in capital letters. It's just easier to find. Let's open that up and make sure we've named everything here. We've got logo, that's fine, but rectangle, not so cool. So we'll just call it header BG. It's really important, guys and girls, to name your layers, because it makes it much easier for the next person who's going to use your PSD, even if it's yourself. So let's close header, and then we can say that we've done that. You give yourself a little pat on the back if you want. Now the next thing we're going to do is the nav. So the nav is again just another square, and all we have to do is do another random one, and then we'd have to get it the right size. So let's do the color first. Okay. And I'm going to use this time if you've got Photoshop CC. If you click on here and then click on this icon on the right hand side, you get the color picker. Alternatively, double click on rectangle 1 or whatever it's called for you, and you'll bring up the color picker as well. The nice thing about the Adobe software is there's a million ways to do the same thing, so you can find your own way of doing it. And the next thing we want to do is just do this one, which is 3B6A26, and that's my color there. Click OK. But it's not the right size. So width is 960, and I'm just doing it in the panels in the properties panel here, and the height is 60 pixels. I'm sure we've heard that somewhere before. Who said consistency is great? I did. Now from here we're going to click on the move tool and just move it into place. It's making itself. This design is just making itself. Right, okay, so now we've got the navigation in place. Let me just hide this panel. It's starting to come together. So what we need to do now is get the text in place. Now this is a little trick I learned from a tutorial, and what it is it allows me to create a navigation bar that can easily be added to, and the spacing is still done automatically. So press T. Now this time when we press T we're going to actually do a box, but if you look very closely at my icon, at my cursor here, you can see it's got a round circle around it. Now what that means is I'm going to be typing, but only typing within this shape, which I don't want right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move outside of the shape, and I'm going to click and drag something like this around about this size. So we'll just say a width of say 600. It does not need to be precise. The reason for that is we just want it to look nice, and we can always change the width later. But we're clicking and dragging with the text tool, not just clicking once. So I'm just going to do width. Again, the height as well doesn't matter as well for what we're doing. So just get a width of around about that, and then let go. Okay, now inside here we need to just type in the words home, space about, space services, portfolio, and contact. And then we're going to change the size of this, and then we're going to use something called justify to make sure that the home goes right to the left, the contact goes right to the right, and everything in the middle spaced out. So we'll just highlight it, and then we're going to change it down to 16 pixels. Now if you don't have it listed on the drop down, just type it in yourself, and then we need to change it to be justified. Now all you do is go to window and then paragraph, and you've got a lot of different choices here. We've got left align, center align, right align. We've got justify left, justify center, justify right, and then we've got full justification here. So just click on justify all, and you'll see how it spaces out, and it's dead useful. So if I just move this down and then get that in there, and this time I'm going to use my eyes. I can use this little thing here as well, but I'm going to use my eyes to get that in the middle. So press Control and Enter to finish what you're doing, and just have a look to see if you zoom in that these are in the middle. I can press V and move it up and down, and to me that looks perfect and very, very nice. So give that a try, and hopefully you won't find it as hard as I just did then. Now we just need to place the image just at the front here. Okay, so we're just going to go to File and Place Embedded. Place Embedded is nice and easy to do because it becomes part of the actual file. If you do linked, it means you have to move the images around when you move the actual file. So the best thing to do is Place Embedded, and then I'm just going to go, let me just go back to my desktop to show you. So I'm going to go Beginner Website Images, which is the folder from the course, and you can see here we've already prepared your banner home. Okay, so just click on that one and then click on Place, like that. Now we need to move it into place, which is easy, but the one thing, like I said before, is don't click in the middle, just click away from the center a little bit, like that. Move it into place, and beautiful, perfect. And you can always resize it. To finish what you're doing, press Control and Enter. Now the next thing I want to do quickly is I just want to do a little bit of tidying up. So I'm just going to click on Home, click on Rectangle 1, and I'm going to press Command and G, and what that'll do is it'll make it into a nice little banner. So I'm going to double click on that. I'm going to call it Nav, and then I'm going to go inside it, and like I said before, always name your layers, and this is just called Nav. Okay, like that, very easy. So close that, and this belongs inside the header. So grab that, go inside header, and then what we're going to do is the banner home later will become part of the content, which we're going to do next. Next we need to do our content, so I'm just going to move down, and if you look at your sitemap and your actual wireframes, you'll see what we're going to be writing on here. So we're just going to do a little title here called I Am Learning Web Design. So we're going to press T for our text tool here, and we just need to set up a few things. Now one of the first things I want to do is I'm going to change my font to Times New Roman. And one of the reasons I know it's Times New Roman is that's just our branding. So if you are doing client work, make sure you ask them for the different fonts. Next one we want to do is a color, and I'm going to go with our sort of green color, but this one's going to be a little bit darker, and this is 3B6A26. And you can see it's like a nice little dark color there. The next thing we want to do is I'm just going to take this size up all the way up to 36 points. There we go. Now we're ready to start typing. Something that you might also find useful with this one is if you're doing center aligned text, just have center aligned text selected as well. Right, now click on there, and I'm just going to type in I am learning web design. Now I'll show you a little trick actually. So you see how this is all lowercase. In the design I kind of want it to be uppercase for all my headings. So I just double click, and then what I can do is I can go to Window and then go to Character, and what you can actually do is turn everything with one click, not bold. You can do it all capitals just by clicking one thing. And then all I have to do is just move this in the middle, and because it's already center aligned, it'll go nicely into place. Brilliant. So I'm just going to move this down. Now remember that whole thing we said about the spacing? Well, spacing here now needs to be the same here. So I'm just going to sort of move it up a little bit so it's the same, and then press Control and Enter. So one thing I did there was I set up my fonts first and then I use them. You can do it the other way around, but I just find this a little bit easier. And if I wanted to get this perfect, I can just bring it all the way up, hold down Shift, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there we go, we've got it perfectly done. So try that and see how you go. Right, now we need to do a little bit of text, and we're going to use a text box for this. So what we're going to do is press T, and again let's just set up our fonts, and we'll go for 16 pixels this time. Oh, it's not there. So if you ever find it's not exactly what you want, just type it in. I like that. Press enter. Oh, now you can see how this one's changed because we had this one selected. So this time what we need to do is we actually need to draw the box, and then we can set up our fonts. Because if we start typing now and press enter, it sort of disappears and it gets a bit confusing. So my advice is when you're doing the boxes and you've done your first bit of text, do your box and then start setting up all of your fonts. Brilliant. So let's just go up to here now, and we're just going to make that 16. Easy peasy. And then we're going to make this Arial because this is the font of the client. And we have to do what the client says, otherwise we get in trouble. And we don't get paid, which is not very good. So click on Arial. And then the color we're going to use for this is a sort of grayish color. And again, this comes from the branding guidelines. So 5E6D66. There we go. Click OK. And now I'm actually going to be a bit lazy, and I'm actually going to paste the text of what I need inside there. You can get that from the wireframe, so just copy that in. Or you can copy it obviously from this video as well. Now one thing we don't want is it to be all capitals, so I'm going to press Command and A just to select all. And then all I need to do is go to the character menu. Now I could be boring, and I could go there, and I can click there, or I can just press Command and T, which is a nice easy way of doing it. So I'll just press Command and A, Command and T, and it pops up. Right, from here, turn off. There we go, and now we're back to normal text. It's really, really useful. It's very, very useful if you don't want to start retyping everything. Brilliant, so we've got our text. I'm just going to tidy that up. Press Command and Enter, Command and plus, and there we go. So all I did was I added my box first, because if you have something selected and then you change the settings, you'll actually change the font. And then I did my box, I pasted the content because I was feeling lazy, and then I just changed it to the settings, and I think that looks pretty nice. And again, what we're going to do now is press V, move up, and there we go. 1, 2, 3. Perfectly aligned, nice spacing. So give that a try. Every page needs a call to action, and that's what we're about to do now. So we're going to create a green box, and then inside it we're going to put some text. So what I want to do now is I'm just going to select my rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw a sort of random box, and then I want to show you how to do it very, very precisely. So just drag a box just quite randomly like that, and you should see it like that. Now if you find as though you've only got a line there and nothing inside it, make sure that you have a fill, and it's not this one, and also make sure that you have shape selected and not path. Right, so what we need to do now is get this to be the right size and the right color. Well, let's do the easiest one first, and let's do color. I'm just going to move the properties away from there, and you can see the colors up there. So good time to press Command and minus. There we go. Hold down space. And then I'm going to double click to bring up the color picker, and I'm just going to move outside of it, and I'm going to use this green here. Click, click OK, and I don't have to remember the numbers. So the next thing now is the size. Now for me this is just a little bit too big, so I'm just going to move it down to a nice number, nice round number of 280. There we go. And the size, let's go for 50. You'll know this from yourself as you start building more websites. You'll find that you start to know these sizes. And I'm just using the move command there just to move it down, and I can be really clever. I can go 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Like that. Okay, and then I'm going to put some text inside. So I'm going to press T, Now look again, you see that circle around it? Not good. So I'm actually going to move outside, click, and I'm just going to put hire me, I'm cheap. Alright, bit of a lie, but hey, there we go. So I'll triple click actually and select white from the top, click OK, and then you'll see that it sort of disappears, and that's because we need to click and hold and move it into the middle of our button. And there we go, we've got a nice little button now, easy to do, and looks pretty clean and very, very inviting. Right, let's start to clean what we're doing up here. So we're just going to click on banner home, hold down shift, and click on hire me, I'm cheap. And I'm going to press Command and G again. So grouping this up, and we're going to call it content home, something like that. So you can see how, as you're starting to build the website, start cleaning up behind you so you don't get in a bit of a mess. Now what we're going to do is we're going to place another image just to give our home page a little bit of spice. Okay, and to do that we're going to use the same thing as we did before, file and place embedded. And then we just need to look for the right image. So does anything say home? No, not really. So let's take a look by clicking here. Obviously you can do this differently if you're on a PC, but pretty much the same. And then click on portfolio.jpg and then place. And you can see it's a pretty big image, so I need to move out a little bit, Command and minus, and then I'm just going to move down. Alright. Okay, now this isn't related to the button, so I'm actually going to move it a bit further down like that, just to give it a bit of breathing space. There we go. Not too much there. And I think that looks really, really nice. So just press Command and Enter, and let's zoom in a little bit. Yeah, it looks alright, that. Not bad. Now that leaves us just enough room to finish with the footer. Well, let's finish this off with the footer. So let's move down, okay, and just gonna get that into place, and there we go. Now before we go any further, I just want to tidy it up a little bit. I'm just going to go to Content Home and drag Portfolio in like that, just so we've got that nice and tidy. Right, so we're ready here to do the footer. And the first thing we need to do is draw a rectangle. Now again, like I said, don't worry about getting it right first time, because we can make it precise by using this. If you don't have Photoshop CC, this won't appear, so you have to do it at the top. Not a biggie. Now one of the first things we're going to do is change the color. I like doing this because it's nice and easy. If you are actually using CC, you can actually use the colors that have already been used. So for example the text or some of the background images. But what we want to do is do our own color. So I'm actually going to double click on here. So double click on the actual layer on the left hand side with the box, and we're just going to put in the figures. And again, the figures will come from when you're doing the branding guidelines, or if you haven't got them, you can make them up yourself. But do remember to write them down, because you might need to use it later. So from here, we're going to go 5E, 6D, 6, 6. And for those of you with a good memory, you'll remember that's the same color of the text. So let's move this over now. I'm going to press V and just pull this over like this. Control and T, and look at that. Easy. Just pull it over, meet it with the guideline. It's just too easy, this. And I'm just going to pull it up, and I'm going to go for about, I don't know, say about 150. I think that looks good to me. There we go, 150. Again, that's another little thing with Photoshop CC. It will pop up for you. And that's a nice little footer, not too big, not too small. And then press Command and Enter to finish what you're doing. So let's have a bit of text now. So pressing T, we're going to put our copyright message just here. So I'm going to move away, keeping away from there because I don't want to wait just inside it. And I'm just going to do an @ sign, copyright. Let's do a capital. Copyright hyphen Carl Heaton from Web courses Bangkok. Okay, and then double click, make it white. There we go. Should be getting good at that now. And then we're just going to select the move tool, or I can move my mouse just here. And there we go. Now the nice thing is it'll help me. It'll probably snap just in the middle. So use your move tool as well. That might help. And you'll see it sort of snaps to the middle like that. It gets a bit sticky. Beautiful. That's the best copyright I've ever seen. Well done. Now we're going to do our two icons here. So we're just going to go to File, Place Embedded, and you get that excited feeling because you know you're nearly finishing. Alright, and then double click. There we go. That's looking nice. Let's move that just here. Again, it'll snap into the middle for us so we can be nice and lazy. Wonderful. Command and Enter. And then again for the Google Plus, Place Embedded, and select your Google Plus. I'm just going to move it over like this. And again, I'm using right next to it, Command and Enter, V123, or just maybe 1 is good enough for today. And now it's time to reach around your back and give yourself a little pat on the back, because if I zoom out, you've just built your first web page in Photoshop, and that wasn't too hard, was it? So give it a try, and I hope that you spend enough time making sure everything's aligned, getting all the fonts nice, and make it nice and good quality.